After my husband died in battle, I picked up a man. The man was a fool, but he had great strength and could help me with a lot of work and shield me from many troubles. Despite being tall and strong, he always liked to follow behind me, calling me Yao Yao repeatedly. Later, people from the Marquis Lu's residence came looking for him, and only then did I realize he was the long-lost heir of the Marquis family. After receiving precious special medicine, his mind gradually cleared. Without a moment's hesitation, he left here that very night. I went to the Marquis's residence but was dismissed by a servant with disdain. Our young master said he doesn't know anyone named Yao Yao. He doesn't recognize me. I breathed a sigh of relief. A few days ago, I received a letter from the northern border. My husband wasn't dead. Instead, he earned military merit and became a centurion. I'm going to find him. The mountains at the northern border are high and the roads are long. I need travel expenses. Your young master has a big appetite and ate quite a bit of my food. Please give me 2 taels of silver. Once you give me these 2 taels of silver, I will have no further connection with your young master. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. The northern border was too far away, and the 2 taels of silver from Marquis Lu's residence were spent on the journey. I exchanged them for a few pancakes and lived frugally, finally reaching the northern border after a month. From a distance, I saw someone waiting for me in front of the official post. He was tall and burly. He looked around and almost immediately noticed me when I appeared. Then, joy spread across his dark face. Yao Yao. Wei Yanjun grabbed my waist and lifted me onto the horse's back, ensuring I was seated securely. He held the reins and walked ahead, leading the horse for me. He was now a centurion and had his own residence. The place wasn't large, but it was enough for 2 people to live in. After being apart for several years, we were finally reunited. He was excited, and I was happy too. By the time we got home, it was already dark. Wei Yanjun fetched a basin of hot water and crouched down to wash my feet. Despite his large stature, when crouched in front of me, he was almost as tall as I was sitting down. His movements were gentle, and the calluses on his fingertips grazed my feet, tickling a bit. I heard him say, Yao Yao, you've had a tough journey. If I hadn't been ordered not to leave the station, I would have come back to fetch you. A year ago, I led a squad to pursue the remaining barbarian troops, but unexpectedly fell into an ambush and rolled down a cliff. Fortunately, I was rescued by nearby villagers and recuperated in the village. My colleagues couldn't find me and thought I was dead, even sending a letter home. Yao Yao, you've had a hard time this past year, haven't you? Was it hard? At first, it was indeed a bit. Wei Yanjun and I were childhood sweethearts, knowing each other from a young age and sharing mutual feelings early on. The night before he enlisted and went to the northern border, we hurriedly got married. Afterward, he was at the northern border, and I was in City A, the southern, relying only on letters to express our longing. The news of Wei Yanjun's death reached the village. I fainted on the spot. People sighed. Some pitied me for being a young widow. Some said I was a jinx. Others coveted the Wei family's small plot of land and the pension sent back with the letter. So, after hastily arranging Wei Yanjun's funeral, matchmakers approached, trying to persuade me to remarry. After repeatedly refusing, some had ill intentions. They tried to force the issue, sneaking into my yard at night. I scared them off with a kitchen knife. I didn't dare close my eyes all night. Realizing things couldn't continue this way, I feared I couldn't protect the Wei family. Just when I was at a loss, I found Lu Zaiwen. At that time, his mind was muddled, not knowing his own name, only repeating Lu, Lu. So, I simply called him Lu. He was somewhat simple-minded, gentle in nature, and not easily hurtful. Yet he was tall and strong, making it difficult for ordinary people to overpower him. After hesitating for a moment, I took him home. I fed him and changed him into the clean clothes Wei Yanjun left behind. I instructed him, outside, you should call me wife. Lu nodded and looked at me blankly, then what about at home? I thought for a moment, call me sister. After spending some time together, I found Lu was completely like a child. He would be afraid if he did something wrong, sad if scolded, and delightedly hug my waist after eating the sweet pancakes I made. saying he wanted to eat sister's pancakes for a lifetime. He remembered my kindness. So when the matchmaker came again, before I could act, he rushed out with a stick. "Get out! All of you! My wife is unhappy whenever you come, don't come again." The matchmaker ran out in fright, babbling. "Yao Yao, don't be foolish, do you really want to choose this fool as your husband?" "Yes." I smiled. Fools are good, fools are obedient. The matchmaker left, cursing. Seeing me smile, Lou would come over and shake my arm. "Sis is in a good mood, make pancakes." He was too simple-minded, and I always accommodated him. "All right, I'll make pancakes for you." I also secretly searched for Lou's family. But after searching for a long time, I found nothing. I told the matchmaker Lou was obedient, but not long after, I found myself contradicted. Lou stopped being obedient. He no longer called me sister, but instead called me Yao Yao. I pretended to be angry, but he argued confidently. "How can a husband calls his wife as sister? The Lou next door calls his wife Dongmei, so I want to call you Yao Yao." I rubbed my forehead. "We are not husband and wife, just pretending to be." Lou hugged his quilt, blocked by me outside the door. He was aggrieved. "So you don't sleep with me, don't hug or kiss me?" "Yes." I pushed him away and closed the door. "Stop it, if you keep this up, I won't want you anymore." Lou stopped talking. Maybe he didn't dare to speak anymore. Previously, when I took him to the mountain to collect firewood, he ran off after a rabbit and went far away. By the time I realized and went to find him, he was already gone. I searched from dawn till dusk. Finally, I found him under an old tree root. He was clutching the cloth tiger I embroidered for him. And when he looked up and saw me, his eyes lit up. He rushed up and hugged my neck tightly, and I felt warmth flowing into my neck. "Don't abandon me, I'll be obedient, work hard, and protect you. Lou is very useful, don't abandon me." He thought I had left him. I patted him, my heart softening completely. "I didn't abandon you, see, I went to make lanterns for you." "Lanterns?" "Yes, I put lanterns inside the little flying bugs' bellies, I'll take you to see." I held his hand and took him to the reeds to watch fireflies for half the night. Lou looked at me, his expression lonely. But he still obediently hugged his quilt and returned to his room. Since then, he never mentioned these things again. Only occasionally when he was happy, he would still call me Yao Yao, Yao Yao. Inside the room, the candlelight flickered as Wei Yanjun quietly listened to me speak. I observed his expression and asked him, "Yanjun, do you blame me?" Wei Yanjun shook his head. "It was difficult for you at that time, finding someone to protect and take care of you." I actually feel relieved. He smiled, and what happened afterward? I was stunned for a moment, then pulled at the corners of my mouth. Afterward, he was found by his family. I was also found by my family. I leaned forward, reached out, and hugged Wei Yanjun's neck, holding him tightly. "It's great, we're reunited again." That night, I inexplicably dreamed of Lou. Dreamed of the day he left. Suddenly, imposing mansion guards came to the house, along with a man who looked like a butler. As soon as he saw Lou, he burst into tears, rushed over, knelt on the ground, and hugged Lou's leg, crying out, "Young master! This old servant has finally found you." They wanted to take him away. But Lou thought they were with the matchmaker, coming to bully me again. So he desperately protected me. The crowd dared not harm him, so they relied on their numbers to grab me. "Young master, take this, once you do, you'll be fine." The butler handed him a bottle of medicine. Lou was afraid they would hurt me, so without hesitation, he took the medicine. Then, there was no more Lou in the world. Only Liu Zaywin, the heir of Marquis Liu's mansion. The butler said the young master was born with an illness, his mind often unclear. Fortunately, an old miracle doctor prescribed a formula for him. This formula was precious, the herbs hard to find. But it had a miraculous effect on him, and the medicine couldn't be stopped. But a year ago, while returning home to pay respects to his ancestors, the young master was suddenly attacked by mountain bandits. During the escape, he got separated from the mansion guards. That's why I found him. After taking the medicine, Lou's eyes were clear. His expression was indifferent when he looked at me, slightly frowning. He glanced at me, then looked away. Butler Chin, leave some silver for this woman, we're returning to the capital. His address for me changed from sister to Yao Yao, and now to this woman. I could hear his detachment. I suppose. For a dignified heir of a marquis mansion to fall to living and eating with a rural village woman like me. It was indeed hard for him to accept. I politely refused the silver, thought for a long time, and only said, "Safe travels." I don't know if he heard it. He got into the luxurious and exquisite carriage. Never looked out again. Actually, I didn't want to find him. But when news came that Wei Yanjun was still alive, I was overjoyed. Hearing that he had been allocated a house at the northern border. I quickly packed my bags and arranged things at home. Calculating over and over, the travel expenses were still not enough. I had no choice but to think of borrowing some silver from the Marquis mansion. I thought, with my relationship with Lu Zewin, surely I could borrow some. After all, if I hadn't found him back then, he might have frozen to death in the mountains. But ultimately, I was thinking too simply. Someone of such noble status wouldn't want to be associated with people like us. The scene of being driven out of the Marquis mansion was vivid in my memory. The servant's gaze at me was like looking at a beggar, he said. The young master said he doesn't know any Yao Yao. The northern border is known for its simple folk customs. Our neighbors living nearby are all family members of Wei Yanjun's colleagues and friends. They are extremely warm-hearted, helping me furnish our home and taking me to see the sights of the northern border. Life here is simple. Wei Yanjun goes to the military camp to train soldiers every day and returns at sunset. I prepare meals and wait for him, and during the day, I can chat with the neighbor or arrange to go shopping and pick out storybooks. The barbarians have been much weaker in recent years, so they rarely start wars, making life at the northern border relatively peaceful. After staying here for a year, I've gained quite a few pounds. The clothes I brought initially no longer fit, and I've been worried for a long time. Maybe I should eat less, so I can slim down and wear them again. Wei Yanjun looked at me and smiled. Why slim down? You look great now. He came over and hugged my waist. Every time I hold you, it feels like there's hope in life. I gave him a light slap. Smooth talker. Then I looked at the clothes again. It's a pity that most clothes here at the northern border are made of coarse linen. Not as comfortable as those from the south. Wei Yanjun rested his chin on my shoulder. Then let's go back south and make some new ones. I sighed. I don't know when we'll be able to go back. In 3 months. Meeting my surprised gaze, Wei Yanjun said. Recently, the barbarians submitted a letter of surrender to our southern guard. And the court sent an order that the northern border's garrison won't need so many soldiers anymore. Half will be withdrawn. My name is on the list. Wei Yanjun embraced me with relief. Yao Yao, we're going home. Wow, this looks nice. I'll buy some to take back. This is a northern border specialty, you must buy it. Yao Yao, come look at this, you definitely don't have it in the south. We were shopping on the street, buying things to use on the road and take home. Lately, the streets have been particularly crowded. The crowd surged. I heard voices from the neighboring stall. Is Mrs. Lin from the capital? The capital is so prosperous. Yes, there are many nobles in the capital, and it's very lively. What kind of lively? Recently, the heir of Marquis Lu's estate ran away from his marriage, causing quite a stir in the city. The other party was the Prime Minister's daughter. Why? Who knows? I just heard he's been looking for someone, seems like a woman named Yao, something. While I was lost in thought, my companion nudged me. Yao Yao, have you picked out everything? It's time to go home. I quickly nodded, handed the money to the vendor, settled the bill, and walked back with them. After a few steps, I couldn't help but look back. Thinking about what they said earlier, I felt astonished. Could Lu Zewin be looking for me? This thought lingered in my mind for a short while before I dismissed it. They must have made a mistake. He said he didn't know me back then. Even if he wanted to completely bury that unbearable past, he would rather never see me again, so how could he be looking for me? Turning around, I quickly caught up with my companions. Wei Yanjun was reassigned to the capital to serve as the city gate officer under the Sun Battalion. So we are not returning to City A, but heading directly to the capital. A month ago, he had someone purchase a small courtyard in the capital for us. The courtyard is not large, but it cost us all our savings. Moreover, it is quite old and in disrepair. We will have to renovate it properly once we return. On the way to the capital, I kept discussing things with Wei Yanjun. I said I wanted to raise chickens, and he agreed. I said I wanted to plant flowers, and he agreed. I said I wanted to build a swing in the courtyard, and he agreed too. Eventually, I stopped asking because he would agree to whatever I said. The journey to the capital was faster than I expected. 20 days after departure, we were only 50 miles away from the capital. With a large number of people in our group. Settling in the city would take time, so someone rode ahead to report. It was still early, and we had traveled quite a distance, so we stopped to rest in the suburbs of the capital. When Wei Yanjun and I went to the nearby river to fetch water, we suddenly heard a woman calling for help. Looking up, we saw a woman holding onto a piece of floating wood. Drifting downstream, her face pale and nearly exhausted. Without thinking, I quickly called to Wei Yanjun, "Yanjun, hurry and save her." Wei Yanjun, being a good swimmer, took off his outer clothes and jumped in. Fortunately, the water was not too turbulent. And Wei Yanjun swam to the woman, grabbed the floating wood she was holding, and brought her back to the shore. I breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did I hear laughter and chatter coming from upstream. Walking a few steps up, I saw a luxurious camp set up on the bank. Young men and women in fine clothes were frolicking by the river. Hey, why hasn't that maid moved after falling in? Could she be dead? If so, I win. Didn't she grab a piece of floating wood? It's not that easy to die, you can't take the money yet. Thinking of the woman we just encountered, I gasped. They were gambling with someone's life. Afraid that Wei Yanjun might be seen and provoke them. I was about to go find him when the conversation among the young men shifted. Why is the Marquis Heirloom still asleep? It's no fun without him. Last night, he seemed to have quarreled with the Marquis again. He's in a bad mood, don't bother him. Their voices lowered. Running away from marriage in public, it's surprising the Marquis didn't break his legs. Hey, it's not like he hasn't been beaten before. A year ago, he either forgot or something happened, didn't take his medicine, Had an episode, and slept alone in the reeds all night, seen by the townsfolk, disgracing the Marquis's household. The Marquis was furious and beat him so badly he couldn't get out of bed. I heard when he disappeared years ago, he married a village woman? Shut up! If he hears, he'll flip out. The Marquis's son doesn't acknowledge it, so let's pretend we don't know. Indeed, how embarrassing. Someone. Go check if the maid is dead, why hasn't she moved? At that moment, a servant's voice interrupted. Young masters, the maid was saved by someone. The person acted suspiciously, and the guards have captured him. Upon hearing this, I looked up in shock to see Wei Yanjun being escorted over by 2 guards. Realizing their bet had been disrupted, the 2 young masters were immediately enraged. Where did this scum come from? One of them rushed forward and kicked Wei Yanjun in the leg, forcing him to kneel. Wei Yanjun is straightforward by nature, and I feared he wouldn't hold back. So I quickly went out and knelt beside him. From their demeanor, it was clear they were not people we could afford to provoke. We could only endure it now. I signaled Wei Yanjun not to speak and turned to plead with them. Forgive us, noble sirs. My husband is the newly appointed city gate officer in the capital. Unfamiliar with the rules here, and has offended you. City gate officer? The man in the dark purple brocade robe scrutinized us and asked. Are you returning from the northern border? Yes. I replied with my head bowed. There are 800 of us in this group, and our companions are waiting nearby. They exchanged glances but said nothing. After a while, someone lazily said, Since you're returning from the northern border, you're people who have served the country. This young master won't hold it against you today, now leave. I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly pulled Wei Yanjun to thank them. The stones on the ground were hard and sharp, and as I stood up, a sharp pain shot through my leg, but Wei Yanjun reached out and supported me. He asked softly, Yao Yao, are you okay? I shook my head, recovered. and was about to leave when suddenly footsteps approached from behind, drawing closer. What did you just call her? I knew Lu Zaywin was here, and I thought if we left quickly, we wouldn't run into him. I was too optimistic. We were stopped by the guards, and Lu Zaywin's voice was deep. Turn around. Lu Zaywin was dressed in a dark robe, his hair partly loose, clothes untidy, with a heavy fatigue on his face. The moment he saw me, a complex emotion clouded his eyes. Yao Yao, you've been gone for over a year. I thought you were dead. The malice in his tone was unmistakable. Wei Yanjun immediately stood in front of me. The noble young men watching the scene asked, Yao Yao? Could she be the peasant woman you encountered when you went missing? Lu Zaywin said nothing, his gaze heavy on me. I was somewhat confused. He looked as if he bore some deep-seated hatred toward me. But after thinking for a long time, I couldn't figure out why. Back then, I took him home and never mistreated or beat him. To buy meat for him, our household expenses increased significantly. Wei Yanjun finally understood the reason. He cupped his hands in salute, so it's the heir of Marquis Lu. Back then, my wife guarded the house alone with difficulty, thanks to your grace's help. Before he could finish, Lu Zaywin drew a whip from the waist of a nearby guard with one hand and lashed it fiercely at Wei Yanjun. Crack! A crisp sound echoed. Wei Yanjun grunted, and blood immediately appeared on his arm. Yanjun! I was startled and quickly went to check his wound. Did I speak to you? Lu Zaywin glanced at him, eyes full of arrogance. It was only then that I fully realized the man before me was not the honest Lu, but the powerful Lu Zaywin. Lu Zaywin turned his gaze back to me. Back then, you took 2 taels of silver and said you wanted to sever ties with me. Yao Yao, do you know how long people laughed at me because of those 2 taels of silver? The heir of the Marquis family, worth only 2 taels? He held resentment toward me because of this. I was a bit at a loss. If you're angry about that, then I apologize. I didn't mean to insult you. Apologize? Lu Zaywin sneered. Who do you think you are? What does your apology mean? Seeing him raise the whip again, the young men stopped watching the show. Your Grace, this person is the newly appointed city gate officer. Though just a minor official, he's still an official. There are quite a few soldiers returning from the northern border nearby. If things get out of hand, it won't be easy to manage. Lu Zaywin said nothing, but the whip still came down. And it was aimed at me. Wei Yanjun wanted to shield me, but I turned and held him. He was already injured, and if he took another hit, it might delay his duties tomorrow. His future was at stake, and I couldn't gamble on it. The whip landed lightly and slowly, but when it hit me, I couldn't help but cry out in pain. Can't even dodge such a slow whip, useless. Lu Zaywin looked at us coldly. He casually tossed the whip aside, took the handkerchief handed by a servant, and leisurely wiped his hands. What? Haven't had enough of the whip? Get lost. Wei Yanjun clenched his fists, glaring at him. I endured the pain, grabbed his wrist. Yanjun, let's go. We walked slowly, and they didn't bother to lower their voices. Previously, someone said Lu Zaywin escaped the marriage with the Prime Minister's daughter for this rural woman. Now it seems completely unfounded. Exactly, this woman may be pretty, but she's far less beautiful than Miss Song. Now the Marquis can be at ease. Wei Yanjun's injuries were more severe than mine. It took 3 days for him to recover completely. He inquired about Lu Zaywin and shared the information with me. Marquis Lu holds a high position and has significant power. Lu Zaywin is his only son, and he had high hopes for him since childhood. However, Lu Zaywin is unruly and eccentric, and he was born with a sickness. Over time, Marquis Lu stopped caring about him. Yao Yao, although the young lord has some connection with us, he is unpredictable. We should avoid getting involved with him in the future. I changed his bandages and nodded. You're right. And Wei Yanjun frowned, looking worried. I asked, what's wrong? Marquis Lu Yiming is violent and vengeful, intolerant of any slight. If he believes the rumors that the young lord's escape from marriage is because of you, it might be harmful to you. But given the young lord's attitude that day, it should dispel his doubts. Anyway, Yao Yao, you must be careful during this period. I sensed the seriousness and concern in his words. I understand, don't worry. Wei Yanjun said we should avoid getting entangled with Lu Zewin, but plans can't keep up with changes. 2 months later, on a rainy night, Wei Yanjun was late returning from duty. I went to the camp to inquire and learned that a noble had been kidnapped by bandits. And Wei Yanjun was sent to rescue him. I felt uneasy. So I asked, which noble is it? The person sighed, it's the young lord of Marquis Lu. Marquis Lu has made many enemies due to his heavy-handed actions. The young lord has faced many threats since childhood, but he's always managed to survive. The rain intensified, its pattering sound adding to my unease. I looked back at the empty streets, my heart racing. Wei Yanjun himself didn't expect to actually find Lu Zewin. Although the bandits were numerous, they were clearly amateurs, lacking real skill and courage. A few threats caused them to turn on each other. And they seized the opportunity to attack, causing the bandits to flee in all directions. It was a desolate mountain, making it difficult to find someone. He searched for half the night before finding Lu Zewin abandoned in a small cave. The cave was below a slope, now filled with water. And the slippery walls made it impossible for someone below to climb up. Lu Zewin's clothes were covered in mud, indicating he had tried to climb out but failed. He looked up and saw Wei Yanjun. Despite his disheveled state, he maintained his noble demeanor. What a narrow path for enemies to meet. He raised his chin, you could throw stones down now and easily kill me. Want to try? Don't you want revenge? Wei Yanjun frowned at him, then crouched down and extended his hand. I'll pull you up. Lu Zewin was momentarily stunned, squinting to assess him. Then he smiled ambiguously and grasped Wei Yanjun's hand. The path down the mountain was difficult. Lu Zewin's leg was injured, so Wei Yanjun supported his arm, helping him move slowly downward. The surroundings were noisy with the sound of rain. Yet it was also quiet, with only the sound of rain and their footsteps squelching in the mud. Weren't you dead? How come you're back? Lu Zewin's abrupt question left Wei Yanjun momentarily stunned. Then he responded, I was lucky and survived the battlefield. Lu Zewin was silent for a while before speaking again. How did you and Yao Yao meet? Wei Yanjun didn't mind discussing Yao Yao with him. In fact, when talking about her, his tone carried a hint of joy. We met when we were young. She's 2 years younger than me and used to follow me around. She's kind, genuine, and very beautiful. Wei Yanjun smiled sheepishly, I really like her, and she wants to be my wife. Our families naturally arranged our engagement. Lu Zewin sneered disdainfully. What a boring story. The rain lessened, and they could faintly hear the voices of the soldiers sent by the Marquis to find Lu Zewin. Wei Yanjun's eyes brightened. Young lord, the Marquis's men are here to find you. Let's go quickly. But Lu Zewin stopped and didn't move. Wei Yanjun looked back. Lu Zewin's expression was not good. I just had a big argument with my father yesterday. I don't want to go back now. Then where will you go? Lu Zewin looked up at him, grinning mischievously. I want to visit your residence as a guest. I waited in the courtyard until almost midnight before I heard a creak as the courtyard door was pushed open. I quickly got up to greet them. Yanjun. But when I saw the person next to him, I stopped in my tracks. Lu Zewin was soaked, with small wounds on his face and hands, looking extremely disheveled. He leaned against the door, unabashedly surveying my home with curiosity in his eyes. This place is so small, is it really fit for living? Wei Yanjun seemed a bit embarrassed and quickly explained to me. The young lord will stay at our house for 1 night and leave tomorrow. I didn't say anything and let them into the house quickly. Lu Zewin and Wei Yanjun changed into dry clothes. And I lit a fire and cooked 2 bowls of noodles for them. I thought Lu Zewin would complain endlessly. But he didn't utter a word and even drank the noodle soup clean. After eating and drinking, he seemed to be in a much better mood. He yawned several times, I'm so tired. Where's my room? He didn't seem as difficult to please as we had imagined. He didn't even mind the straw bed and fell asleep quickly after lying down. Wei Yanjun blew out the lamp and gently closed the door as he walked out. Yao Yao, go to sleep. What about you? Wei Yanjun smiled, I'll keep watch outside. With Lu Zewin staying at our house, he was still uneasy. But he had been out in the rain for half the night. If he didn't rest, his body might not hold up. I reassured him, "You should rest. It's fine. I'll stay in the same room with you and won't come out." He hesitated for a moment but then nodded in agreement. But as dawn approached, I noticed Wei Yanjun, who was sleeping beside me, was feverish. He must have caught a cold from the rain. Without thinking, I quickly went to the kitchen to make him a bowl of ginger soup. I woke him up from his daze and made him drink the ginger soup, finally feeling a bit relieved. Returning from the kitchen, I passed through the courtyard and caught a glimpse of a figure standing there. I was so startled I nearly screamed. The sky was turning light, and I could see his face clearly. It was Lu Zaywin. He was sitting on the swing in the courtyard and laughed when he saw me come out. "Sister!" I was initially uneasy, but now I was just stunned. I quickly walked over. "Young lord, how long has it been since you took your medicine?" "Sis, what are you talking about?" Lu Zaywin jumped off the swing and suddenly hugged my waist. "Lu is hungry. Sis, make some sugar cakes." My heart sank. Oh no, he's really having an episode. Just as I was at a loss, I heard him ask me, "It's been so long since I've seen sister, but it seems you don't miss me at all." I casually replied, I do. "Really?" Lu Zaywin released my waist, stood up, and looked at me with a smile. "Do you really miss me?" Looking into his eyes, I froze and stepped back several steps. "You're pretending? Ha 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 ha." Lu Zaywin laughed so hard he cried, slapping his thigh. "How can you be so easily fooled? What? If I pretend to be that fool, I can hug your waist. If I pretend a bit more, can I call you wife in front of your husband?" I frowned at him. I really didn't want to talk to someone so nasty. So I turned to go back inside. Lu Zaywin's voice turned serious. "Sister is really unfair, isn't she? So patient with Lu, but won't even say an extra word to me." I paused slightly, "But you're not the same person." That was my honest thought. I truly didn't believe they were the same person. Lu, though foolish, was inherently kind. While Lu Zaywin was a playboy, just like those young lords who gambled with people's lives. I walked too quickly to hear his murmured words. But whatever he did or said, I remember it all. How can he not be the same person? I stayed inside for quite a while before there was any movement outside the courtyard. Lu Zaywin pushed open the courtyard door and left, and then the sound of a carriage was heard outside. He was picked up by people from the Marquis's residence. I slowly let out a breath and turned to feel Wei Yanjun's forehead. The fever had already subsided. Since that day, I haven't seen Lu Zaywin again. But I often hear news about him. The young Lord Lu won again at the gambling house and booked the entire brothel. The young Lord Lu wanted to redeem the courtesan, but was locked up in the ancestral hall by the Marquis for 3 days without leaving. The young Lord Lu was thrown into the military camp by the Marquis for training, but was kicked out in less than 3 days. Even if I don't want to hear it, I always hear his name in various places. Wei Yanjun has also been very busy during this time. He leaves early and returns late, always looking tired. He said the capital is treacherous, with winds and clouds stirring, and the actions of those big figures can drastically change the lives of people at the bottom. On July 12th, when Wei Yanjun returned, the collar of his official uniform was stained with the smell of alcohol. He squatted by the stove to help me add firewood, the firelight making the scar on his brow appear deeper. Today, a banquet invitation came from the Marquis Lu's residence, saying it's a lotus appreciation feast. My hands stirring the soup paused. Why would such a prestigious family like the Marquis Lu invite a mere city gate officer? This is too unusual, I'm a bit worried. Can you not go? Can't refuse. He stuffed a piece of wood into the stove. The one who delivered the invitation was the chief officer of the Marquis's residence, accompanied by 8 sword-wielding guards. As the aroma of lotus leaf chicken wafted out, Wei Yanjun suddenly hugged me from behind. His chin rested on my shoulder, his voice muffled like clouds before a storm. "Yao Yao, for some reason, I feel uneasy in my heart." The copper spoon clinked against the edge of the pot. I turned to look into his reddened eyes, where the confusion that hadn't appeared even during the food shortage at the northern border was now swirling in his pupils. The next evening, the Marquis's carriage rolled through the sunset and stopped at the door. I sent Wei Yanjun onto the carriage. Then I leaned against the courtyard gate waiting for him. Until the third quarter of the hour of the pig, the sound of the watchman startled the sparrows under the eaves. I finally heard staggering footsteps. Looking up, I saw Wei Yanjun stumbling back, and I quickly went forward to meet him. Only when I got closer did I notice his official uniform's front was torn 3 inches long. And there were dark red finger marks on his neck. Wei Yanjun took me into the courtyard and then shut the gate tightly. His voice was extremely low. They want me to open the West City Gate at the hour of the monkey tomorrow. They promised me the position of Deputy Minister of the Ministry of War if successful, otherwise. My heart trembled. Even though I'm a country girl who hasn't read much, I can see what tonight's banquet was really about. Marquis Lu is ambitious and plans to rebel. The damp cloth wiped over Wei Yanjun's bruised neck. And only then did I notice his inner garment was soaked with cold sweat. The moonlight outside the window suddenly dimmed, and Wei Yanjun pushed me away abruptly. Retching towards the corner chamber pot, but only spitting out a few mouthfuls of sour water. Yao yao, to survive, I agreed. He curled up on the bed like a dehydrated fish. But there are 12 new iron gates inside the West City Gate, the key is with the guard eunuch. Cough cough, with the guard eunuch. Just by myself, I can't open the city gate. Even if I could open it, I wouldn't. Wei Yanjun's eyes lost some of their panic, gaining a bit of determination. Marquis Lu is ruthless. If his soldiers enter the city, the capital will be a bloodbath. My hand patting his back paused in midair. Wei Yanjun grasped my wrist. Yao yao, the capital is going to be chaotic. Tomorrow. I will protect myself. I threw myself onto him, hugging him. Tomorrow, I want you to come back alive. The next morning. The rooster's crowing was relentless. I saw him tuck a curved knife from the northern border into his official boots. The sound of the watchman's clapper from Yongding Gate echoed from afar. Wei Yanjun stepped into the morning mist, heading towards the city gate. The capital was in chaos. Marquis Lu led his troops to surround the imperial palace. His soldiers were confronting the imperial guards, with tensions running high. The city gates were tightly shut, and the troops summoned by Marquis Lu and several other factions rushing to rescue the emperor were all on the way. It was a matter of who could enter the city faster. By evening, a great commotion was heard on the streets. There were the cries of the common people and the wails of children. And the shouts of soldiers clashing weapons. The sound grew closer to me, and I hurriedly hid in the cellar. Only to see the courtyard gate, which Wei Yanjun had reinforced not long ago, being violently hacked open. Fierce soldiers stormed into the courtyard. They quickly found me. Madam Wei, come with us. Your husband is being uncooperative, and the gates can't be opened. The Marquis has ordered us to bring you over. The man grabbed my hair and dragged me out of the cellar. Seeing my face, the rough soldier suddenly smiled ambiguously. Didn't expect Madam Wei to be quite good-looking. He reached out to grab me, but an arrow flew in from outside the courtyard, viciously pinning the man's hand. The man fell to the ground, howling, and everyone turned to look, then knelt down in unison. Young master. Lu Zewin rode over on a red-maned horse, looking at me expressionlessly. With a longbow in hand, he pointed at me. Madam Wei, I will personally escort you. I was bound hand and foot and thrown onto the horse's back. Glaring at Lu Zewin, I said in a low voice, this is treason. Are you mad? Didn't you know? I've always been not quite sane. He wasn't angry or upset, and even smiled. He seemed more peaceful than before. My father wants to use your life to force Wei Yanjun to open the city gates. Time is tight. If his troops can't enter the city now, they will soon clash with the Tiger Might army coming to rescue the emperor. Their forces and equipment are inferior, and it will be troublesome. He's rushing over here now. If you want to live, you'd better. Before he finished speaking, an arrow brushed past my ear and embedded in the ground ahead. Lu Zewin urgently pulled the reins, and the startled horse reared and neighed. I fell off, and Lu Zewin jumped down, cutting the ropes binding my hands and feet, and shielded me in front. Marquis Lu stood not far away, bathed in blood and clad in silver armor. His strong bow still trembling in his hand. Traitor! Marquis Lu's arrowhead turned towards Lu Zewin. The Tiger Might army was supposed to arrive in 3 days. Did you send the message early? Lu Zewin's dark robe fluttered in the night wind. Father, you taught me history back then. Saying the worst rebellion is one where the common people are stained with blood at the city gates. Shut up. Marquis Lu drew an arrow and nocked it. Ever since you met this village woman, you've become less like a son of the Lu family. In the next instant, 3 arrows shot straight towards my face. Lu Zewin spun and knocked me down, and I heard the sound of flesh tearing. An arrow struck his back, yet he still smiled at me. Don't worry, I won't die. He stood up and looked at Marquis Lu. Son of the Lu family? Father, perhaps you never considered me a son of the Lu family. When my madness first manifested, to preserve the dignity of the Marquis's residence, you wanted to drown me in the pond. It was Mother who threatened to die to save me. Father, you're disappointed in me, but how could I not be disappointed in you? He swayed, and I reached out to steady his arm. Stop, Father, this battle, you've already lost. The deafening shouts came from the city gate, and the iron city gates thundered open. Wei Yanjun stood bloodied at the winch of the portcullis, with the Tiger Might army cavalry surging in like a tide behind him. Marquis! The Tiger Might army has entered the city. The bloodied scout rolled off his horse. Marquis Lu's grip loosened, and he looked up at us in astonishment. His quiver was empty, and he suddenly spurred his horse towards me. Lu Zewin's blood-stained hand abruptly grabbed the horse's hoof, flipping the startled horse to the ground. Marquis Lu rolled in the dust, still wanting to fight. But Lu Zewin stepped forward and knocked him unconscious with a hand strike. In the distance, the Tiger Might army's troops drew nearer, and I saw Wei Yanjun at the forefront. Rushing towards me. Lu Zewin placed Marquis Lu on the horse's back, then mounted the horse himself. He looked down at me, his expression complex. Go find your husband. At this moment, he can protect you. I looked up at him. Where are you going? No matter what, he's my father. I'm going to fight for a way out for him. With that, Lu Zewin snapped the whip. Go! The sound of hooves echoed, and he led the remaining troops of Marquis Lu galloping towards the west of the city. After the battle at the city gate, the capital was filled with the stench of blood for 3 days and nights. On the 7th day, as the sun rose, the emperor issued an edict. The Marquis Lu was found guilty of treason, and his 40,000 private soldiers were all incorporated into the imperial army. The women of the Marquis's household were exiled to South Border, and the men were to be executed after the autumn. As for the Marquis Lu and Lu Zewin, who are still on the run, the court has issued a bounty for their capture. Wei Yanjun was promoted to the commander for his meritorious defense of the city, and his salary was finally increased. Life seemed to return to peace. I don't know how much time passed, but it was long enough for Wei Yanjun and I to have our first child. And we held a lively first birthday banquet. Wei Yanjun took us back to City A to pay respects to our ancestors. On the day we left the capital, there were 2 yellowed wanted posters pasted at the city gate. The artist's depiction of Lu Zewin was sharp and striking, very much like him. I looked at them for a while, and Wei Yanjun held my hand. Why are you suddenly feeling down? In the past, the Marquis's heir seemed noble and grand. But now looking at him, Lu Zewin as the Marquis's heir is truly pitiful. I wonder how he is doing now. Wandering outside, he has lost access to that precious special medicine. Can he live well? 3 days later, we arrived in City A. Passing by a field, we suddenly saw several children picking flowers on the ridge. The children's laughter startled the sparrows on the ridge. The road here was difficult for the carriage. Wei Yanjun helped me down from the carriage. The children looked at us curiously, then focused back on their own tasks. After picking some fresh flowers and grass, they stood up and shouted towards the reeds nearby. Lu! Are you done yet? It's time to go feed the rabbits. My steps suddenly halted. Holding Wei Yanjun's hand, I quickly walked over. By the riverbank reeds, a tall figure was clumsily weaving a grass cage. His coarse clothes covered in mud spots, and there was a fierce old scar on the back of his neck. Be careful. Wei Yanjun supported my staggering self. The man turned his head at the sound, a silly smile on his face covered in grass bits. With fireflies flickering in the grass cage in his hand, exactly the weaving method I taught Lu years ago. The man bounced up, looked at me curiously, then handed me the grass cage. For you. I held the grass cage, my thoughts in turmoil. Do you recognize me? He shook his head, but you look nice, like my sister. Lou! Come over quickly! Don't talk to strangers. The group of children shouted at him from the ridge. He didn't say another word to us and quickly ran towards them. The accompanying village head saw this and came over to explain. He said, "This is the fool who wandered here 2 years ago." And when he first arrived, he was accompanied by a crippled father. His father had a bad temper, either hitting or scolding him. We couldn't stand it and tried to stop him, but he threatened to behead us all. His father might have had hysteria, thinking he was a nobleman or general. Not long after, the crippled father cried and laughed one night. And hanged himself, leaving behind this foolish son. He helps the villagers chop wood and herd cattle, and the villagers collectively take care of him. Living on food from 100 families, and he's been living well for these 2 years. I turned back to exchange a glance with Wei Yanjun. We both saw the melancholy in each other's eyes. As dusk fell, I invited Lou and the group of children to my house for dinner. Lou squatted by the stove watching me bake sugar pancakes. His expression was focused, his eyes not blinking. Try it, is it sweet? I handed over the first sugar pancake. He bit into it, his mouth full of sugar crumbs. And suddenly reached out to offer the remaining pancake to my mouth. Sister, you eat too. His eyes were as clear as the spring water on the day we first met. Wei Yanjun gently held my trembling hand. I left some silver with the village head. After we leave, they will take good care of him. After dinner, Wei Yanjun and I took them to see the fireflies. In the reed marshes, thousands of fireflies danced under the moonlight, like a galaxy falling to earth. Lou watched in fascination, suddenly clapping his hands and laughing. Lanterns. The other children were puzzled. What lanterns? Like lanterns stuffed into the bellies of little flying bugs.